Welcome to the Vanguard Watch. Today, we're diving into the tragic case of Spencer and Monique Tepe. We're going to look at how investigators, starting with a really perplexing crime scene, were able to follow a trail of digital breadcrumbs to find their killer. This story really begins not with the crime itself, but with the people at the very heart of it. The statement from their family just underscores the profound, devastating loss at the center of the investigation we're about to walk through. So, how did this all unfold? Well, it all kicks off on the morning of December 30th. What started as just a little bit of concern for friends and coworkers would pretty quickly escalate into a full-blown homicide investigation. It really started with something that was just completely out of character. Spencer Tepe, he's a dentist, a really dedicated one, and he just doesn't show up for work. And then nobody can get a hold of him or his wife, Monique. You can imagine the concern, right? Coworkers are calling 911 saying, hey, this is not like them at all. And that's what triggered that first welfare check. Okay, so when police get to the house, what they find is, well, it's a real puzzle. It's full of contradictions. You've got the couple, tragically shot, but there's no weapon anywhere. And get this, no signs of a break-in. It's like the killer was just let in, or maybe they had a key. The only real physical evidence left behind? Some spent 9mm shell casings. So this is the big question, right? The central mystery for the police. This doesn't look like a robbery that went bad. It's not your typical home invasion. The scene was just clean, quiet, and honestly deeply confusing. All right, so with not much to go on inside the house, investigators had to think bigger. They had to expand their search outwards into the neighborhood and really into the digital world. The hunt for clues basically became a hunt for data. This timeline here, it really paints a picture of just how patient and methodical a modern homicide investigation has to be. I mean, there was no aha moment right away. It took days of just grinding it out, collecting evidence, asking the public for help with their doorbell cameras, and stitching it all together piece by digital piece. So after digging through just hours and hours of video, police managed to narrow down their timeline to this critical 3-hour window. And that's when they released this grainy footage of a person walking in an alley nearby. They were hoping someone out there would recognize something, anything, a specific way they walked, the clothes they were wearing. Their whole focus now is on what happened in the dead of night on that morning. Okay, so now we get to the breakthrough moment. This is how it all starts coming together and leads to an arrest. Because while that person in the alley was a lead, it was actually footage of a vehicle that blew the case wide open. It's a perfect example of just how vital digital forensics have become. So how did they pull this off? Well, first, they spot a car on neighborhood cameras. It shows up just before that 2 to 5 a.m. window and leaves right after. That's a huge flag. Then the real digital sleuthing begins. They use other cameras, traffic cams, license plate readers, to pin down the exact make, model, and plate. From there, they link the car to its owner, and that trail leads them all the way to Rockford, Illinois, hundreds of miles away. And this is the moment where that last crucial piece of the puzzle just clicks into place. The suspect wasn't some random person. Court records confirmed it. The man they've been tracking, Michael McKee, was Monique Tepe's ex-husband. And suddenly, there's this chilling personal connection to the victims. So with McKee in custody, the case officially moves to the next stage. He's charged with 2 counts of murder, 1 for each victim. And this is a huge turning point, right? The case shifts from an active police investigation and gets handed over to the justice system. He was booked into the county jail there in Winnebago, waiting for extradition and the start of all the legal proceedings. Now that an arrest has been made, it feels really important to bring our focus back to the 2 people at the center of this whole tragedy. Because beyond the crime scene tape and the headlines, Spencer and Monique Tepe were these beloved parents, partners, and friends. And their family statements, they paint such a beautiful picture of who they were. Spencer, he was this incredibly proud dad, a huge Bengals fan, who was always giving back to his community. And Monique, she was a joyful mother, an amazing baker, and just one of those people whose kindness made everyone feel welcome. You can just tell, together they built this incredible life, full of love for their kids and for each other. So, in the wake of this arrest, you can see their family's focus is now shifting. It's no longer about the who and the how. Now it's about the long and, I'm sure, very difficult road to getting justice through the courts. The capture of a suspect, it's a huge step for sure, but it really is the end of one chapter and the beginning of a whole new one. The case now moves from the street to the courtroom, and that brings up a completely different set of questions, doesn't it? Questions about motive, about how the evidence will hold up, and ultimately what true accountability is really going to look like in the end.